BossesTV.com. BossesTV.com.
Episode 1 with Mrs. Hulk's comic book store.
This is BossesTV.com. Today we're at Miss Hulk's For Life Comics and Cards, an interactive comic book store located at 5 West Prospect Avenue, Mount Vernon, New York, 929-375-9107. Once again, for you comic heads, 929-375-9107. So today the reason we're here is because she's a boss. And bosses go through up and downs, starting a business. She's going to share with you today the people, what bosses have to go through sometimes to get to their destinations. A little bit about their ups and downs. So you could, so one day I saw you setting up shop. I was surprised to see you had a comic book store. Most people, when they open up things, they follow the leader. They end up doing a whole bunch of other things that everybody else is doing. You have a comic book store. I don't know nobody in my entire life that has a comic book store. We grew up with comics, of course. I knew some people that was comic book collectors, a couple, but you actually have a comic book store. So how long have you been into comics, and how did this happen?
So I've been into comics since I was a little girl. My favorite comic, of course, is the Hulk, thus Mrs. Hulk for life. Not to be confused with She-Hulk.
Okay.
I'm his wife. Big difference.
So that can void one question that I have, because I did have that question as far as why you picked that name. So okay, go ahead.
So I liked the Hulk from the original, watching him, Bruce Banner, turning into the Hulk. Not the animated version. That came later for me. Okay. But the actual Bruce Banner on TV.
Yeah. The one I watched, the one we all fell in love with.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Was in love with him from that moment on.
What was he saying? You don't want to make me angry? Is it?
You don't want to get me angry.
Yeah, you don't want to
You
get
wouldn't
me
like
angry.
me when I'm angry.
Yeah,
you wouldn't want to make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. I like Batman.
Okay.
But I fell in love with the Hulk.
How long have you been doing this? How long? Like, since what age?
I want to say maybe about 7 to 8 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Long time.
Yeah. Really.
So when did you get into a business for comic book? Because some of us get into business at a teenage, at a teenage age, thinking we're in business and we're really not.
Right.
But we got our little comic book store. When did it begin for you at that stage, even before you got here? We ain't even going to talk about how you got here first. I want to go in the past.
So to be honest, I think also like the pandemic caused me to really delve into it. Okay. Because basically everyone was home. You were out of work, in work, out of work. They weren't sure who was essential workers, who was not, which caused me to say, you know what? I need to work for myself. I had been through many jobs in between the pandemic, before the pandemic, always been in law enforcement, or in a helping position, or something that involves someone else telling me how far I can go with my academics in a job, what I can offer in a job. And I've even had bosses be intimidated by me at a job because of the knowledge that I have. Like, I'm a researcher. I love to research. So you can't just tell me, no, that can't be done.
Right.
I need to know, why can't it be done? Right. Not to go against the grain, but why can't it be done? Especially when it comes to our youth.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. When I hear, oh no, that can't be done, or oh, they're not gonna make it. I heard that growing up.
Yeah.
Because I was a young mother. I had my first daughter at 16. So back then in 94, having a child at 16, my grandmother was old fashioned. So it was like, okay, you got a kid, everything stops.
Yeah.
You education stops. It's time to work. You can't have a car. You can't. So you're not looking at it like, okay, the things that I was gonna have before having a child, I can't have them now because I have a child. You look at it like, can't do none of that now at all.
Yeah.
So it changes your mindset and it kind of puts you in a space of what you like. You just can't accomplish nothing.
Wow.
So I felt like I needed to overcome that from a young age. So I've always been a challenger when it comes to academics, soaring high. I got my GED, and I was determined to go back to school, get my bachelor's. I started working on my master's.
Wow.
So I've always been determined. So when pandemic hit, I was baking, because I have several businesses, and they flourish. But for some reason, this just was like comic books. Let me see, get back into that.
So let me just say, by you telling me all of this basically happened during COVID is amazing, because I gotta ask you, like, you got mad comic books. Like, I seen you when you first started fixing this place up. Like, you got mad comic books. Like, this has to be from 20 years. Like,
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
So you had these.
They were stored away.
They were stored away. And
Yeah.
you didn't have no plans on doing this and opening up a business?
Not at all.
Wow.
Not at all. Not at all.
Wow.
Not
That's
at all.
crazy.
And a friend of mine was like, yo, this is something you should do. Kind of collabed with me and was like, yo, let's open a store. You should put this in a place.
Wow.
And it was more so too because I had people like, oh, can I come to your house? Because that's what I was selling out of the house. And I had like boxes.
So you was selling before?
Prior to this,
Okay.
yes.
How long?
Yes.
So that's why you had this collection you was selling?
Yeah, I was selling little by little.
Okay.
But just like, if you don't really know and you don't really research it, then you don't know like what you have.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, you don't know the value.
Right.
So I started getting more and more into it when I was not working. Pandemic. I was like, I don't want to go back into the workforce. I want to work for myself. So once I started looking up the books and pricing them, like, yo, oh my God, dang. This times this makes this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I have so
Started
many.
making sense.
Right. I had, and I was doing it out of the house, selling it off Facebook, Instagram. And when I got people like, oh, can I come see? Can I come this? I said, okay, people want to come and see the books. Like, I know me. I'm a visual too.
Yeah.
So it was like, I don't want to just buy something and like, oh, I get it and I'm not happy with it.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I got to get out of the house with this. So thus searched around in Mount Vernon. And it's funny because I didn't look no place else.
Wow.
I didn't check for any other town.
Wow.
To say, let me open up a comic book store. This was my first.
Wow.
My first priority was Mount Vernon.
Yeah. She got mad. Yo, she got books, man, books that y'all can't even see. Like,
right. If I sold
probably have
every
thousands and thousands of books, man.
I want to say close to $1 million.
Yeah, I would have to say that too. I said that when I
about
first
$1
came
million.
here. I said, you definitely got to have about $1 million worth of comic books in this joint.
If I sold every comic book for $1, I'd be good.
Yeah.
Not
Wow.
if I didn't sell it for the value that it's selling for, $1, I would be good. I've given comic books away. I can't even count how many comic books I've given away.
That's crazy.
And they don't even look like it.
That basically, that right there, that answers the second question I had. You know what I'm saying? So my third question basically is, we all know it's not easy starting a business. I've started several. I hate to use the word failure. I like to just say it was part of my journey. They just didn't, it just ended up leading me to another phase, you know what I'm saying? Some people want to say failed and, it didn't work out or whatever. I just feel like it's a part of your journey. So, like I said, I know it's not easy. Permits, cash, help, just putting everything together. Tell the people what were some of your struggles with this place right here, because I know how Mount Vernon can be. What were some of your struggles? Tell the people, because this is what this show is all about, really letting people know it ain't easy being the boss. And I know it wasn't easy for you. It did take a while, because I know when I first came in here, it was all over the place because you had, you know what I'm saying? And you couldn't let nobody. And then one day I came in here and everything was like neat, everything in the things. And like, wow, so I know you had to have help. You know what I'm saying? So tell the people what were some of your obstacles.
So the biggest obstacle was kind of like making sure that how we converted it didn't go against any codes or things like that. So you got to make sure you cover all the codes, because it's a space where it's books. Then it's really not a lot that's required. Right. We're not providing a service other than selling books and watching TV, video games. So it's not a major like other brick and mortar stores where if they're trying to change the structure or they're trying to do a certain type of service, and you got to get all these zones and codes and things like that.
Like
so
a restaurant.
Yeah, restaurants or nail salon or beauty supply store, beauty salon. Certain spots you got to get certain type of coding. So we were kind of good with that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. The biggest thing with this particular business is inventory.
Oh yeah.
That's my biggest thing.
Yeah.
Knowing what's on my shelves, putting it in the system. You don't know if you want to do alphabetical order on the shelves or numerical order on the shelves. You got to have it where if somebody takes a book out, you got to know where it goes back, because if you put it up on the system and somebody orders it online, you got to try to find it. So you got to kind of figure that system out. It's some people might be like, oh, it's just a bookstore. Like, what's?
I don't even know.
It's chaotic.
Yo, you got, first of all, if someone called and asked for one particular book, I mean, I would definitely have to say I don't know how you could do it, because I'm looking at tens of thousands of books.
Right.
And you might have to find that one book.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I do see everything seems to be a lot organized, but like I said, man, when I first came here, you definitely... I
was in a sea of books.
Yeah,
I was like to my neck, books all over the place. Like I didn't know where to put them. I didn't know how to do it. You know, I definitely did go around and look at other comic book stores and see how their setup was to get an idea of how I wanted mine to be or not to be.
Yeah.
I do know a lot of comic book stores have it's called comic book boxes. So usually they have like shelves where the boxes are, and those are, you can't really see them now, but they're behind those books. So it's just a long box and the books are in there. It holds about 100 and it could hold up to like 180 books, 120 books, you know, depending on how thick the book is. And usually people have it that way, and then they'll have it in numerical order. So whatever issue you're looking for, you can be like, I'm looking for issue 5. You just don't go through and look for 5. You don't know exactly if it's Spider-Man, X-Men, whatever.
So right now I'm looking on the wall. I'm looking at Iron Man, Justice League, Punisher, Spider-Man, Star Wars, Warlock Warriors, Wolverine. There's so many comic books that I don't know about. All right, so, you know, we got different type of comic books. You basically already said, because one of the questions I had for you was, why did you name yourself Ms. Hawk? We got superheroes like Captain America, Fantastic Four, Iron Man, Iron Fist back then, Scarlet Witch, Superman, Batman, and so forth. So you basically broke down why you call yourself Ms. Hawk. What I want to know is, you got Marvel Comics, DC Comics. I've always known those to be like, that was it for me. Like, I know there was one more. I forgot the name of it, because I know my man AB definitely was a comic book collector. I want to know, like, for me, those have always been the two that always controlled the comic book market. To me, that's what I've always thought. If that is the case, can you explain to the people how it used to work back then? Was they the biggest, the only two? Are they still the biggest now? Like, how does this comic book thing work? Is it 10 big distributors? Are they the only two? And how does it work? Because I've always only thought it was just them, but I'm quite sure it's a whole bunch.
So Marvel and DC are two of the largest that... As far as like the superheroes and where they branch off at, because you know you got your Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, that's DC. Then you got your Spider-Man, your Iron Man, Captain America. Those that's Marvel.
Right.
You have Valiant, you have Image. There's a few others I can't think of the top of my head, but there's quite a few. But the ones that are so much more in the forefront is DC and Marvel. Like, that's what. So I did notice that a lot of now, like on Disney Plus, they're starting to kind of like incorporate a lot of different characters from different things, and you'll be surprised. I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of shows you watch that have comic books. A lot of shows. Like, there's a show I watched called the Umbrella Company, I think it was called. There's a comic book for that.
Oh, isn't
Bart Simpson has a comic book.
Bart Simpson?
The Simpsons. The Simpsons have a comic book. Freaking Joey Buttafuoco has a comic book.
But did they have comic books when we was young? But
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
It's just that Spider-Man,
And all of-
Superman,
yeah.
that was the highlight. You get what I'm
Wow.
saying? Yeah. So they had comic books.
All right, so
Yep.
that kind of
Yeah.
leads me to another question. Do they still make comic books of the heroes today like they did then? Is Marvel, is DC, is the other names that you just named? Are they still making comic books today like they did back then? Is it dead and you have to kind of live how you're living now? Are they still making comic books?
No, they still make comic books. Comic books are still made. They're more current. They're more digital.
And we still have
And we
Iron
got
Man
them-
comic books in the
Yes. They
Oh,
still
wow.
coming out.
Wow.
It's just not like those classics, those
Right.
golden ones. You know, like you
Right.
could tell that the artistry was like really
Right.
hand done. Like it's nice and
Yeah.
and it's. I love the fact that that's what I have. I don't have
Right.
anything
Yeah.
2022.
Right,
2000. You know,
right.
I might have some 2000s, but nothing like current. A lot of now is the manga. A lot of the youth are into manga, which is more of a Korean based comic book. If you notice, that's what I get a lot.
What do
of
you think
requests
those
for.
will ever be classics?
Every comic book will be a classic.
Oh, depending on the time. Wow.
It's like wine; they age. You know, you get some that are old but don't have that much value. But sometimes the value is in the art and the story of it. You know, the timelines, the issues. You know, some people just want to collect them. Some people read them. Some people collect them. I like them for the art more so than anything.
You just talked about collect. So you said something. I wanted to elaborate on that, but let's go ahead and get to buy, trade, consign, which I don't know what that means.
Consignment.
That's what that means, consignment?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I should have known, right? But I wouldn't think that you would do consignment with a book, like a comic
Yeah.
book. But, okay, so buy, trade, cosign, collect. Just break those four things down.
So trading is basically saying, okay, I trade. You have a comic book I like. I have one you like. Let's trade it.
How often does that happen?
I don't do that.
Okay.
I don't do that. I do. People ask, but I have so many. Anything that somebody brings in here, 9 times out of 10, I have it. I want to say 100% of the
How
time I
about
have
consignment?
it. Consignment is we sell it for you and we get a percentage.
Oh,
It's just a commission. In other words,
Okay.
you know, when you're dealing with certain things, you say consignment sounds a little more professional than commission.
And collect is basically you.
You're
a
collector, right?
Okay, cool.
Yep, collector and seller at this point.
All right, cool. This is my last question. Where you going? What are your goals for the comic book industry? And like, what's your timeline for the next 5 years?
So I am in the process of writing my own comic book. Definitely would like to see more youth and more people of color get into being superheroes, being seen. That's what I would like to contribute to the comic book world. There are some out there that are starting. We have some independent comic book artists as well as writers that have a few stories here in the comic book store. Independent artists, I don't charge them to put their books in here. I want them to come, put their books, we sell them, and they get 100%
so you
of their
actually
own.
have independent artists that have comic books? Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yep, I have. They come. They have. I have Scruff, the Unforgiven Scruff. That's a new one I just got. I feel bad, I don't know the name, but the artist is Alex. He's on Instagram. He's the artist for Scruffs. And then I just had another young man come in a couple of days ago, and he has one about, it's called Alfred World. Mm-hmm. And I should show the books, but I'll show them to you. So those are 3 so far, and I have some others that are out there that, you know, I reach out, or I've sent some messages asking if they could bring their stuff in, but everybody has to do it in their own time, you know.
Wow.
But all independent, they can sell out of here. I don't want any funds because I want you to build your
That's
brand
nice.
and get you out there, because it's hard trying to build a business, you know. It's hard being an artist and you go into a bookstore and it's discouraging for you to be like, oh, listen, you know, I would like to put my book in your store, and they're like, oh, we don't do that, or oh, we get X, Y, and Z, you sell it, and then you're obligated to like, okay, let me just leave 5 and try to sell these fat. And no, I want you to put your book here and just let it rock. you know, just let it be, let it work itself, and you know, it's doing well, I must say.
All right, y'all, this is bossestv.com. Khalil, I want you to look in that camera right there, and I want you to encourage some young women who want to be bosses, but they're scared. They don't want to take that next step. What you got to say to them?
So I'm going to say face your fears. The only way to know if you're going to succeed is by trying, failing, picking yourself up, and keeping it going, and trying and trying and trying again. I have multiple businesses. It's not my only business. And each business has its ups and downs. And you just have to know that regardless of what goes on, you have to keep pushing.
That's it, y'all. So y'all heard it from Miss Hawk herself. This is bossestv.com with Miss Hawk of Miss Hawk for Life Comics and Cards, an interactive comic bookstore at 5 West Prospect Avenue, Mount Vernon, New York. The phone number is 929-375-9107. Once again, an interactive comic bookstore, Miss Hawk for Life Comics and Cards. Number is 929-375-9107. Peace and love.
BossesTV.com